right, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. Welcome back to the arcade and to another arcade cast. And I'm going to get right into the first subject with the announcement. And first of all, let me know what the theme was in the pretty much in the stream starting screen. Let me know what the title of the game of that song that you heard was. And the first person to get it right in the comment section gets to choose the theme of the next arcade cast. Now, right into the announcement. I got a new PC coming. I ordered it. It's being put together as we speak, and I actually get notifications on my phone through text messaging in terms of where they are with every single step before shipping and everything like that. So that's pretty cool. So, but yeah, exciting news. So I'm sure you guys are going to be wondering what the specs of the PC are. So I'm assuming the three things that most people want to know when it comes to a PC specs are the GPU, the CPU, and the amount of RAM. So the GPU is going to be a 3060 Ti. The CPU is an i5 12600K, and the amount of RAM is going to be 32 gigs at 3600 megahertz. So yeah, that's I think that's more than enough in terms of what I need. And actually, I contacted this fellow YouTuber / Switch streamer / content creator named BRAETHORN, and that's basically what he does. Ever since the pandemic, and as well as the prices of PC parts just absolutely skyrocketing. I know that the capture cards have actually dropped now a little bit, and they're getting closer and closer to normal, which is great. So hopefully people will be able to get parts separately without, an arm and a leg or whatnot. But because of all the prices of parts going really high, there was an increased demand of pre-builds, and pre-builds were the best deals that you could get. And basically what BRAETHORN does is he streams twice a week on Twitch, and he also does one 40-ish minute YouTube video a week. And what he does is he goes through all the system integrators, and he checks out what the best deals are, and in terms of what you want to get, whether it's content creation, whether it's streaming, or both or whatnot. And he breaks it down, and basically what he does is he gets you the best deal. And basically, like what he did with me, for instance, was this system integrator overcharged for RAM. So basically what he said was, listen, unfortunately, we don't have the option to not get RAM, so what we're going to do is we're going to get the least amount of RAM and the cheapest one possible, and then just here, go to Amazon, wham bam, he found me the link of the RAM and basically saved me at least $150 right there, and on top of that, there was a coupon code. So overall, basically saving me $250 on this build, and it's like that $250 could be put somewhere else. Maybe I'll go for 64 gigs of RAM. I don't know. Let me know down in the comment section whether or not I should pull the trigger on 64 gigs of RAM. I personally don't think that I need to. But yeah, so basically, if you think about it, between the finishing touches in terms of what my artist is doing with the last bit of graphics, as well as this PC that's on the way or whatnot, it's only about a matter of a total of 2 weeks before, obviously the graphics are gonna be done before that, but by the time the PC arrives and everything, and it's going to be about 2 weeks as far as I understand in terms of an ETA. It could be faster, I don't know. But I'm literally finding out by every hour of every day, well, every few hours whenever I get an update through text messaging. I basically get an update from these guys basically saying, hey, blah, blah, blah. This is what's going on so far. So it's exciting. I'm finally glad to have pulled the trigger on it. And just like I mentioned in one of my previous videos or one of my previous casts, you really do only live once, and if you have the capability of doing something that you've always wanted to do, just fucking do it. So that's exactly what I did, and I'm very happy for it. I'm very happy about it, and finally, it'll be actually the first time, ever since starting YouTube, it will be the first time where I'm actually not limited on hardware. I started this YouTube channel on a $400 laptop that I got at Walmart back in 2010 or 2011 or whatnot, which was about 4 to 5 years before starting the YouTube channel. And then that one died off after about a year or two. So not knowing any better, and of course not having a shit ton of money, and again, not knowing any better, really, not knowing anything at all, I basically ended up getting another laptop, which was better, but at the same time, very, very much lacking. But I was through the through the blessing of the cyber gods, I was still able to create content and capture footage, even though during the capture process, the laptop would kind of lag and stay behind. One thing I noticed that was when I played back the footage was running perfectly fine. So I was like, okay, I'm able to get videos down even though even though there's some lag going on because of the specs not being up to par in terms of the minimum requirements needed for the capture card and everything in between. So I was always limited on hardware. And even though I was able to get this old rig that I have now that I'm currently using to make this video and that I've been streaming on over the last couple years or so, it's still limiting because as of lately I've been demanding more of it, and there's been a lot of inconsistencies. And on top of that, my Ethernet, the Ethernet port in the back got fried somehow. So I've been relying on Wi-Fi, and thankfully I've got good internet, but at the same time it still limits it. And on top of that, between everything that I'm asking of this PC to do, it's just too much. And then as time goes on, it's only going to end up being too much. So so basically, when I contacted BRAETHORN, it was basically like there was a handful of questions that he had, obviously, like what your budget is and what are you looking to do with it, yada, yada, yada. So basically, and he was like almost to the dollar, spot on in terms of what the budget was and everything like that. Now, granted, if I get extra RAM, it's going to be even more of a budget. As a matter of fact, with the RAM, even with the fact that I'm doing it on Amazon, it's still less than what it would have been on the integrator. But I'm going over what I initially wanted to do with the budget, but that's perfectly fine. I was kind of I was pretty much going that way anyway. I knew that it's always going to be a give or take. There's always going to be something. So yeah, just let me know down in the comment section if you guys think I should go with the 64 gigs or just stick with the 32. I think I'll be fine with the 32, but if anything, upgrading to 64 gigs isn't really a big deal. And at the same time, I got my best friend who's also an IT or whatnot. So if there's anything I need help with in terms of installing, or if there's a question or whatnot, I can always go to him. Thank goodness. So that's always a good thing. So. But yeah, the footage is going to be more crisp than ever. I'm going to be able to edit and render videos a lot faster. Basically, the limitations are pretty much gone. I don't have to worry about, oh, is my PC going to be able to handle this? That is no longer going to be a thing anymore. And after 7 years, it's like I finally get to, like, in terms of specs, I have the equipment necessary in order to do it, and I can even game on it if I want. Those kind of specs are strong enough in order for me to game and even record while I game if I want, as far as I understand. So with all the different games that are coming out as well, like for instance, when I played on PC back in what was it, back in like about a year and a half ago or so, for like 6 straight months. Oh, I will tell you without a shadow of a doubt, one of the funnest games that I enjoyed was Overwatch, and it was very addictive to be able, like, one of the things that I was doing also was pretty much a precursor of what you're seeing today, actually, in terms of the inspiration behind the change of the channel. Like, I was listening to a podcast, and sometimes I listen to old ones as well, ones that were pre-recorded or whatnot, and basically I was just enjoying listening to this 3-hour fucking podcast and listening to the stories and everything in between, while just all I cared about was just trying to get my aim better on mouse and keyboard. And Overwatch is a great game to practice on, really, to do that. And it's a fun game, and it was more fun on PC than it was. And again, this is the weak rig we're talking about that I was playing on, so I wasn't playing with the hertz or the FPS that obviously the game is capable of playing, as well as, it was on minimum specs, minimum graphics and everything, just to get 60, and all I cared about was just working on my aim. So it's really nice to be able to have that as well, in case I ever get the itch to go back. And I do, actually. I still do enjoy mouse and keyboard gameplay on PC. And I know Overwatch 2 is coming out and it's going to be on Game Pass. Oh, and speaking of Game Pass, this game here came out yesterday. Shredder's Revenge, I will say without a shadow of a doubt, is by far a love letter, an homage, a nod to not just the old school 90s beat 'em ups, but to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games. If you are a fan of beat 'em ups, if like the Double Dragons or those kind of games, if you are a fan of the 90s, if you are from the 90s, if you're a fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like there are so many nods to all the previous games, from the arcade games of 1 and 2, and then the Manhattan Project, Turtles in Time, the Hyperstone Heist. They're all here. There's like little bits and pieces of everything in this, plus a few things added as well in order to kind of keep with the times. But for the most part, like even some throwbacks in terms of the intro to this game that basically is its own version of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon back in the 90s. And if you're around my age, which is 37, there was no denying the popularity of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the 90s. And by the way, to this day, and I will say this with 100% confidence, to this day, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the one that came out in 1990 or 1991, the original movie, that still remains to be the best Ninja Turtles movie to this day. And it has aged well as well. And the tone is actually pretty damn mature. I think the movie is rated PG, but it could easily be PG-13. Seriously, there's a lot of things. It's very much, they managed to very much capture the essence of what the kids loved about it, but at the same time, it was very mature enough for adults. Trust me when I tell you. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 were actually, especially 3, were those movies were pretty much like even softer. They were even more kid friendly. But number 1, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was hands down very much a movie that adults would enjoy as well, as opposed to just going to a movie to take their kids to. Like, it was something that you could, like, even adults could relate to the movie. So trust me when I tell you, and if you haven't seen the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and if you're a fan or whatnot, or just trust me, do it. just do it. It's a great movie. So this game just did an excellent job. I mean, again, I played for an hour and 40 minutes, and I'm still not done with it, but such a well done game. The music, the animations, the moves, you name it. Lots of callbacks all over the place. And if you've played a multitude of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, this game is for you. And get, subscribe to Game Pass and try this game out. I mean, it's, I think it's worth like $40 if I'm not mistaken. But if you were to buy it, if you want to do that, by all means do so. But I honestly, just subscribe to Game Pass if you're not subscribed to Game Pass already, and give this game a shot. It's totally worth your time if you fall under any of the any of the categories that I just mentioned over the last few minutes. So great game, and it of course matched the green theme of in the background that you see, and I love this color, the green with the stars and the arcade. I love it. So I'm really eager and looking forward to showing you more of the last finishing touches in terms of what my artist has been working on, and he's been very busy over the last few days, and it would take him over a week to finish the rest that I've asked of him. So he's been doing a terrific job, and shout out to him. I'll be leaving the link to his stuff down below for those of you guys that are interested. And I'm also going to be leaving a link to BRAETHORN down in the description below, because for those of you guys that are not too familiar with everything and anything PC, and if you want a PC and you have a certain budget and you're looking to do something specifically with it, that is exactly what this man does, and he does a great job at it as well. And all you have to do is go look at his YouTube videos, and you'll understand. And whenever there's something going on in terms of price and stuff like that, or specials and stuff like that, this guy's on top of it. Or if one of the system integrators is doing something wrong, he will not support them. Seriously, like, he will not support them 100%. So yeah, he's the real deal. He's definitely a guy you want to talk to if you're interested in anything like that, especially since parts are still high. I think they're starting to drop, but especially with graphics cards or whatnot. But yeah, that's it. So basically, the PC that I mentioned in the very beginning in terms of what I'm getting is strictly made for content creation. Gaming was not the number 1 priority when I thought of this. I know that about a couple years ago that wasn't the case. Like, I wanted it to be the ultimate machine. I wanted it to be like a $3,000 to $4,000 PC, but with what I spent with what I'm spending for this, it's definitely it definitely covers every single track. And again, between my arcade machine that I have so many old school games to play and to capture and all that kind of stuff, and then my Xbox Series X, and then now this PC that's gonna be coming in, I am more than happy, and I have more than enough games to play and to share, to make videos on content and stuff like that. And the thing is, another reason why I got the PC was obviously I wanted to do all this live. And I wanted the footage to be crisp. I wanted the graphics and everything like that that I'm doing, and all the stuff. I wanted it to work very smoothly, very crisp, and I wanted to be able to multitask without there being any hiccups. So between personally wanting to do it and as well as making sense content creation wise, it was just time, because as good as this guy's been to me, he's not gonna be able to handle all of that, especially if you're doing a bunch of multitasking. And obviously this would allow me to use better software as well. Like for instance, as far as I understand from what BRAETHORN told me, and I'm kind of paraphrasing or something like that, and I even went back and looked at the benchmarks or whatnot, but the 12600K, the i5 12600K is actually comparable to the 5900 or the AMD 5900 or the AMD 5950X, I believe, in terms of Premiere Pro and everything like that. So it's like, and that's something that was eye-opening. So it was like, and from what I understand, the Intel 12th gen has been doing good, so it's all good. I don't really need the top of the line of everything in order to do what I am setting out to do and to make me happy. Now, with that being said, in the future, would I consider getting the quote-unquote beast and then keeping the one that's coming in as my secondary or whatnot, or my streaming machine or whatnot, and have my cake and eat it too, so to speak, if I desire to get another toy? Absolutely, everything's possible, and then we can discuss that later. But as of right now, I am very, very content and very, very happy with what I'm getting, and it's something that's really surreal to me, because I was basically, when I discovered BRAETHORN's channel, I was constantly looking up videos on how on PC stuff, PC builds and everything like that, because my knowledge was very, very limited. Like if you were to ask me about a year and a half ago, what a 3060 Ti was, there was no way in hell I'd be able to tell you. If you were to give me a multiple choice question with A, B, C, or D to select the right answer, there's a 75% chance that I'd get the answer wrong. So basically, I've learned a lot. My knowledge is still limited. However, I've come a long way. I understand that just because something has a higher number doesn't always mean that it's more that it's necessarily better or more powerful. And there's a couple of give and takes when it comes to that. It's not always the case that that the higher number is better than the lower number. Not always, at least. So that's one of the things, and when it comes to CPUs and GPUs and all that kind of stuff. And then there's just so much more information that I'm continuing to learn. So thanks to other content creators out there, guys like BRAETHORN and then some other people as well, I've been able to learn quite a lot, and I find videos like that quite fun to watch, because they break down all the benchmarks in terms of what everything is capable of doing, and they're doing comparisons with the games and all that kind of stuff. So, and then there's obviously websites that to where people kind of submit their information or something like that, to where it gives you the average benchmark between, like, I don't know, 20,000 50,000 users or something like that with a specific rig. So that's pretty fucking cool, man. And again, with PC, everything is just so damn customizable. So it's pretty freaking cool, man. I'm geeking out about all this. So yeah, Jack's Arcade is going to be looking better than ever. And the thing is, ultimately, what I want to do is I want to do I want to do the vast majority of everything live. So what I mean is, this is obviously like a postcast, right? It's not live because of one of the reasons is because of limitations in terms of the hardware, because I don't want this thing breaking down on me midstream, and at the same time, with all the graphics and everything else that I'm going to be putting on, I just want to make sure that everything runs smoothly, and I want to do a crisp 1080/60, simple as that. So. So yeah, when you get when you get a chat involved and you do everything that you want to do and talking to them live, and it literally brings everything that I love about the whole thing, like in terms of what I've decided to do with the channel and stuff like that, because as I've mentioned previously before a handful of times since announcing Jack's Arcade, basically, is I've never ever gotten tired of talking about video games. And when there's people literally, if you're literally talking to people live about video games and their thoughts, their opinions, their takes on everything, their experiences with a certain game, or whatever it is, or whatever the gaming news that's happening now. I mean, there's an endless amount of things to talk about, videos to make, fun to be had, games to be played, and I want to have a multitude of different kinds of streams. Like, for instance, let's just give an example with this game. You can play with up to 6 people in this. I mean, can you imagine if I got my numbers on streams back to the way it was like in Black Ops 4, where I'd have about 20 people in stream? I think 20 to 25, somewhere around there, was like my max at one point, and somewhere around there. And like, imagine if, like, we just played with each other, and then there was the theme, there was the graphics, there was the transitions, there was the stream games, the stream challenges, to where people would get points and stuff like that, and then they would choose the theme, or they would be next to play, or whatever it was, as well as a few other ideas that I have. And then you're having this conversation in between games, or in between levels, or whatever it is. Or let's say I get on and play Elden Ring, which has been kind of requested a couple of times. I think once in the comment section and once on Twitter. And as you guys know, I have never played a Souls game before, and I know that Elden Ring is one of the best games ever created, and it's looking to get Game of the Year, and the only game, if it releases this year, that seems to be standing in its way would be God of War Ragnarok. Other than that, Elden Ring is absolutely probably going to win Game of the Year, and for good reason, and for a multitude of reasons. So, but I've never played a Souls game before. I'm a newbie when it comes to RPGs. I played action games with RPG elements, but that's a little bit different. Like, imagine me getting on and the chat guiding me through with their experience, right? So, and I'd be asking them for advice, or I'd be asking them, okay, how do you do this? How do you do that? I mean, that's another way of getting involved, right? Is like, it's kind of like, it's some of the best things about gaming, obviously this is being done online now. There's no more going over to a friend's house and doing this. That's not a thing anymore. But to me, this is easily the next best thing, and I still enjoy it as if there were people in my house and we were kind of experiencing this together. Now, is it 100% the same? No, of course not. Real life interaction versus cyber interaction is so different. But at the same time, both of them have interesting things that you can do. But ultimately, the seeing the people in real life is the way to go. But at the same time, it also allows the player to play the game and then simultaneously interact with the chat if they wanted to, or they can just choose to just listen, or they can just peek in and watch, or they can just have it on their screen, whether it's at home or whether it's on the phone, on their phone or whatnot, or whichever form of media they choose to watch from. That's one of the reasons why I made these overlays for the backgrounds, and I contacted my artist about it, is because I wanted it to be something that was easy on the eyes, something that was also colorful with multitude of colors, different themes, and all that kind of stuff. There's a whole bunch of themes that you guys haven't even seen yet. So, and I'm eager to show you, and as everything starts to sort of unfold, so to speak. So, also another thing is I'm still waiting on the green screen to come in. It's supposed to be coming in today. Hopefully it does. And I will also be probably changing things up in the room, because I'm limited on room, and I'm limited on a few things. And basically phase 1 through 3 are done, and phase 4 would be when I move. Phase 4 would be when I move, and when I do move, I would also purchase a good camera, because right now there's no need for it. Right now I've got the Logitech C920, which is great, but the thing is, like, in terms of some other videos as well, it's like, a really nice ASMR camera would be great. But that's after I move, and that's when all the final bells and whistles, so to speak, would be coming on. But for the most part, the majority is done for phase 1 through 3. So, and I'm glad to have come this far. And also the support that you guys have been giving me on Twitter, as well as the comment section on here has been great. So it's just humbling, and ultimately at the end of the day, it's all about having fun, and I want to bring you guys on the fun with me. So yeah. And I also want to get into talking about the showcase, the Xbox Bethesda showcase that went on. And I am very well aware that Starfield looks rough. When I did my breakdown video, I also mentioned that the game itself kind of looks rough, even with obviously with Redfall as well. Games look rough. But for me personally, I just want the gameplay to be good. I want the gameplay to feel smooth. I don't if the game looks rough, but if the game has sustenance or whatnot, it's all good. It's not always about how things look. Now, granted, looks do help. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, it's the gameplay that matters and the sustenance that matters. I know that presentation is huge. I mean, pretty much in anything, right? The presentation is huge, but at the same time, we can't always judge a book by its cover. So by the time the game releases, hopefully it is smoother. Hopefully you can play at least 60 frames a second. Hopefully there's enough to do. I know that somebody mentioned on Twitter that there's going to be like with all the 1,000 different planets or whatnot that you can explore. I'm sensing a little bit of BS on that, actually. I got too excited when I was doing my breakdown video, and I was like, holy shit. But I would say if there was something to explore over 1,000 planets, it would probably get repetitive, or unless they have something to where people would be doing mods. And if you just mention that, if you just imagine that, the mods that you'd be able to do over a multitude of planets, in terms of whatever people from the PC end up creating, that is pretty fucking interesting. And I think that is probably why they did that. If I had to think about it, I mean, that's probably why they did that. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty fucking cool. I like it. So yeah, I think that's awesome. I think there's potential there, but at the same time, a lot of people were mentioning the red flags and stuff like that in terms of what they didn't like or what they were skeptical about. I get it, and Fallout 76 obviously was a big disappointment when that came out. A lot of people were referencing No Man's Sky when Starfield was displayed and all that kind of stuff. So I totally get it, but only time will tell. I still think that Starfield is going to be released at the end of 2023. I don't think it's going to be released in the first half or in the first quarter like they mentioned. And if it is, I personally think it's going to be rough. And I think a lot of fans are going to be pissed off if that happens. Redfall, I do believe, is going to release sometime in the first half. They say probably the first quarter. But Starfield, it's a much bigger game. It is so much more ambitious. It's just a lot. It is quite a lot. I seriously... and at this point, even if it were to release with all the content that the game has and the way they meant to release it, I seriously doubt that you literally have 1,000 different planets or whatnot that you can explore, and them being all different. I mean, they got it like... I sense a lot of cut and paste, and I think for a lot of people that's just not gonna sit well. But at the same time, if you look at something like Prestige in Call of Duty, what are you doing really? You're just playing the game for longer periods of time, and you're leveling up, and it's kind of helping you stay engaged and giving you another reason to play. So if you look at it like that, Starfield is kind of like that. Think of it as the Prestige system, but for Starfield. That's at least what comes to mind. After like a few minutes after them basically discussing or revealing the fact that there's going to be up to 1,000 planets or something like that. That's one of the things that came to mind. Was basically this is the Prestige system for Starfield. So I just hope that in terms of the base game, and we're not just talking about the story mode, but in terms of everything that the game has to offer before it gets repetitive as hell, I just hope it's enough. If the game is going to take anywhere from, let's say, 60 to 100 hours to complete, I think that's great. But at the same time, the big thing is I want the gameplay to be smooth. At least give us 60 frames. And obviously for people that have, the PC capabilities to go beyond that, it's let them have it. And I've also recently learned, obviously after the breakdown video, which was something that I was curious about, I've also learned that you actually have the choice on whether or not to do everything in third person or in first person, which is great. That's the kind of variety that is that I think is welcomed among many players, because there are plenty of players out there that prefer third person. There's also plenty of players out there that prefer in first person. And at the same time, there's also the players that like both. So like they would probably complete the game in first person mode and then complete the game again in third person mode. Who knows? So so it really just depends on the type of player you are. They're obviously trying to get as many players' attention as possible, you know, because like for instance, let's say you've got, you know, people that are playing Fortnite, obviously, that love third-person shooters. Are like, hey, I might look into playing a little bit of Starfield or whatnot. You know, I'm going to put Fortnite down because I've been playing too much. Let's look at this Starfield thing. And I'm going to play in third person because I prefer third person. So, and I get it. So, again, cautiously optimistic, but I think Starfield has a ton of potential. It is ambitious as hell. Do I think it's going to accomplish everything it's setting out to do? Respectfully speaking, no, but it could still, I think it could still potentially surprise people in terms of like, hey, this game is better than what I thought, or I'm actually getting more from this game than I thought, or things like that. So only time will tell. And my prediction is it needs to come out at the end of 2023. It needs to. Whether or not it does, I don't know. You guys know how corporate interest and art mean. It's very heartbreaking for the developers, because the developers don't want to initially release anything unless it's 100% finished, right? Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to take heat for it from the majority of the population. And then there's the other guys that basically know that it's not the developer's fault if a game gets released before its release time or whatnot. So, but all in all, a lot of people are still going to blame the developers in one way or another. So it's just the way the cookie crumbles. There's a lot of times where I actually feel for the developers, and there's just so much that you just don't know that happens behind the scenes. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is a business, and a lot of these publishers or whatnot, you know, they want their money. They want to be able to capitalize on the release. But the thing is, if they also delay this until, let's say, holiday 2023, you know, they're gonna catch the holiday window, and at the same time, it's gonna be another thing for Microsoft to basically take advantage of. And I think Microsoft needs to be patient, and there's going to be a lot of games, obviously, in 2023 over the next year, especially since they've been promoting it for Game Pass or whatnot. There's going to be a lot of games. Things are going to constantly continue to improve. I think 2024 is going to be even bigger than 2023, especially since the acquisition of the Activision Blizzard thing is going to go through and finish. So, and speaking of Activision Blizzard, obviously in the showcase we saw that Overwatch is going to be free to play. There's also other games that are obviously on Game Pass as well, that are PC exclusives, like Valorant to name one. And Valorant always kind of caught my eye in the background. I've always kind of appreciated what Valorant has to offer. And not gonna lie, I believe they also have a free for all mode. You know, that would, like, if the PC itch really hits me, I wouldn't mind, you know, trying Valorant out. I don't mind at all. I honestly don't mind a competitive shooter as long as I'm enjoying it. Despite its problems, I'm actually enjoying Halo Infinite, believe it or not. I'm about 1/3 of the way through Diamond 5, just playing solo and just enjoying the process. Aiming for Onyx, obviously, but whether or not I get there, I really don't care. I'm just kind of enjoying the process, and I'm waiting for Free For All Rank to come out. That's my only request at this point. So I'm patiently waiting for that. But Ranked is great. I'm enjoying the BR gameplay, and it is what it is. And by BR I mean Battle Rifle, not Battle Royale. So yeah, tons of new games are on their way. I specifically couldn't help but make the breakdown videos of Starfield and Redfall because I personally am interested in those games, and I think those games will be a whole hell of a lot of fun. Thankfully for me as a gamer, it really doesn't take much to make me happy. It's the multiplayer games specifically that I'm a little bit more picky about, depending on the game itself. I mean, honestly, Call of Duty was the last game that I was like picky about. With Halo, obviously not as picky, and I'm content with the ranked right now, believe it or not, despite its problems and the lack of. We know what's going on. But I'm enjoying it, and whenever I feel like playing it, I play it. I play it multiple times a week, but just a multitude of games that are coming. Redfall, at the end of the day, I think Redfall is going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun, and I personally can't wait till the first quarter of 2023 in order to try that out, because at least that's what the release is rumored to be, at least. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Again, you could play as solo, you can play with a squad. It'd be another great play to game with you guys on stream live or whatnot. Having intermission fun games that involve the people that are talking in the chat as well, and just literally unite the community and just enjoy freaking doing it, man. Because we're either playing games or talking about games. And obviously there's going to be videos made, but breakdown videos obviously aren't going to happen all the time. It's just going to be basically about the games that personally caught my eye. Unless somebody specifically requests that I do like a breakdown style video of a specific game that recently got released that I wouldn't have done otherwise. And if I'm able to, I would obviously do it. So, as well as different kinds of videos that are coming, like Game of the Week, for instance. That's something that I've always kind of wanted to do, which is something that you guys could always suggest as well. So, but yeah, just for the most part, I want to do everything live. And there's going to be at least one of these podcasts a week, and it's going to be live, which is even better. There's going to be a multitude of guest hosts. So, and yes, if Dr. Bolo comes back to do another one with me, the theme would probably be pink, unless it's much later on to where I have all the bells and whistles and all the art is complete or whatnot. So then obviously you'd be seeing a multitude of different things, but I don't mind a pink theme and all that kind of stuff. So again, my graphics artist is very busy. This last, like, about 5 or so days ago when we talked about what I wanted next. This assignment is definitely keeping him busy. So, because usually it just takes, a few days, but this one is more like up to 2 weeks to complete. So, shout out to him, man. He does such great work. So, but yeah, exciting times. And one of the things that I'm also really looking forward to is obviously, especially with the PC coming in, is SM2 or SM squared. So we're going to see what happens with that and how that ends up turning out. There was very recently, over like, what was it, a few weeks ago or whatever it was, there was some gun gameplay revealed. So, I mean, you basically have the ultimate Call of Duty game made by people that are passionate about Call of Duty that don't want to put skill-based matchmaking in the game or engagement optimization matchmaking in a game without a patent and stuff like that and all that. And ultimately, I think if SM2 or SM squared takes off, I think especially for the Call of Duty community and stuff like that, like if you got pros or whatnot that support that game or whatnot and say, this is the way it's done, it will influence other developers and stuff like that to change, because there would be other players that will literally jump ship and go to that game. Why play with a game that's broken when you got a game that's not broken, that's going to be free to play, and it's going to be for the community, by the community. The only downside is that it's for PC only, but you can play with a controller, but it's going to be PC only basically. But at the same time, it really doesn't require the strongest PC. Like this old rig that I have now, it is more than capable of running SM squared. So because they're running on the Modern Warfare 2 engine, which came out in 2010 or whatnot. So it'd be more than capable. So in terms of what I have, I'd be able to play it. So again, subconsciously, there was that was something in the back of my mind that kind of just came to the front of my mind after I was purchasing it. It's like, oh yeah, I can play SM squared with all the bells and whistles, and I could either do mouse and keyboard or I can do controller. It just depends on the mood. So yeah, because if there is, like, not necessarily with Activision Blizzard, but whenever a Call of Duty, like when you hear something of like this, whether it's SM squared or whether it's the game that Dr. Disrespect is making, or the game that Nadeshot and 100 Thieves is making, ultimately at the end of the day, you get excited for those games because until it's released, you give them the benefit of the doubt. With Activision over the last few years, we already know what to expect at this point, right? So it's like, yeah, no more of that. I'm not going to waste my money anymore. I'm sure there's going to be a good amount of people that are going to enjoy Warzone 2 and Modern Warfare 2, or should I say Modern 2 Warfare, because in my mind, there's only one Modern Warfare 2, and that was released back in 2009. So, or was it 2010, something like that? I don't know. But that's Modern Warfare 2. You know, to me, I'll just call it Modern 2 Warfare. So, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to enjoy it for what it is. But yeah, I know better at this point. So, Vanguard is by far the Call of Duty that I've played the least. Cold War I enjoyed off and on. I had to be in the mood to play it, and then obviously Modern Warfare 2019. I was just wasn't my cup of tea. So the last time I played Call of Duty like a lot was Black Ops 4, and I played it beyond its life cycle. So yeah, in terms of Call of Duty, the only thing that I would say that I would be remotely interested in is SM Squared, and obviously kind of curious to see how Microsoft handles things. But remember, they paid a pretty penny to get this, so it's like they're going to want return on investment. And which brings me to Diablo 4. One of the biggest things that a lot of fans, especially when I look at the comment section of the developers of Diablo 4, when I go and look at the gameplay reveal that they've recently revealed for Diablo 4, is there are so many people in the comment section that are obviously, and rightfully so, concerned that it doesn't take the direction of Diablo Immortal, where it's 100% pay to win and it costs a ridiculous amount of money to level up and shit like that. I don't know. I hope that's not the case, because Diablo 4 actually looks really good. And this is coming from a person that's never played a Diablo game. But just by looking at it, and especially since I'm playing a multitude of games now, as opposed to just focusing on one type of game or one type of franchise, that game looks very appealing to me. Diablo 4 looks really good, but something that looks and even plays really good could easily get ruined by something such as microtransactions and stuff like that. So I hope they don't take that route. I know that Diablo Immortal is a mobile game. I get that. So I mean, they're like, everybody's just basically saying that, you know, we know this is Activision Blizzard, so chances are they might fuck it up, because with the microtransactions, shit like that. And this is also the last year, because the acquisition is going to go through, chances are, right? So they're going to try to squeeze as much out of this as possible. They're going to milk the shit out of this cow. And I mean, really, do they give a shit about the community? No, the only time they would give a shit about the community is if the community would affect their pockets in a negative way. Then they would change. But there never is change, because as of recently, like, what did they make? 5.1 billion? Like, it's been recently revealed that Activision, like, in this last, what was it, quarter or some shit like that? 5.1 billion in microtransactions? That's insane. So I know that Xbox wants to capitalize on that as well, but the question is, are they going to, like, is Phil Spencer going to basically run things like Bobby Kotick did? I don't know. I fucking hope not. But we'll see. Obviously, Phil knows gaming and stuff like that, and he's obviously, even though he's obviously not perfect, he's definitely turned Xbox around. Especially when you look back in 2013 when Xbox One came out, and how people, like, really just know the direction where they were going. You know, before Phil took his position, was like no, and then Phil has slowly but surely managed to turn it back around, and it's heading towards a really big direction. And everybody's gonna have to answer to him when they take over in terms of all the franchises from Activision Blizzard. So we will see what happens. I don't know. We will see. But yeah, lots of interesting things to look forward to on the Microsoft end and the Game Pass end and everything like that. And hopefully they'll reveal GoldenEye, because apparently the achievements got leaked. So I'm actually surprised we didn't get a GoldenEye reveal. So we'll see what happens. I read something about behind the scenes footage or some shit like that, but I don't know. Eventually, something like that would eventually come out. But we'll see. GoldenEye is definitely one of the more legendary games back in the N64 days. People were playing split screen multiplayer, and this was back in what, 1998? Either 98 or 99, and people were absolutely like, this was like. People were like addicted to that game, and they absolutely loved that game. And this was before the Xbox era. This was before, you know, System Link and all that. So, and on the N64, go figure. And people loved the hell out of it. So, fast forward about, what, 3-4 years later, we had Halo 1, Combat Evolved, and people were linking their systems together. I know this because I did this. And then fast forward when Xbox Live came out in 2004. I mean, they'll have their 20th anniversary in 2 years in terms of Xbox Live's existence. And I wonder what they have in mind to do. And on top of that, the acquisition and everything else would be like, it's going to be huge. 2024 is going to be an absolute huge year for Microsoft. There's absolutely no doubt about it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens because again, at the end of the day, it is a business, and these guys want return on investment. So we will see what happens exactly. And speaking of which, another major thing that happened was Hideo Kojima has joined Xbox, or joined Microsoft, and this is absolutely huge because this guy is known throughout the entire gaming industry and admired by many, including Phil Spencer himself, and has made some amazing games throughout his time and has influenced so many other creators and has been doing this for such a very long time. And when you invest in a guy like Hideo Kojima, you really can't go wrong. And there are people out there that are so loyal to him that they would actually jump ship from, like, they would actually, well, not necessarily jump ship, but they would actually get a Microsoft console or a PC to play whatever it is that Hideo Kojima is going to make. So as of right now, it's overall it's a mystery, but hopefully in due time we will, maybe in a year from now, we will get some news in terms of what the game is. And if we don't get a glimpse of anything, or what the title is going to be called, or what kind of game it's going to be, if we don't get that next year, then that means that they're still way too early in development, and it would take at least another year for them to get to that point. So, but ultimately, though, if you're a Kojima fan, if you're a gaming fan, all that kind of stuff, it is something to definitely keep an eye on. There's just so many people that admire that man, and for good reason. He's made incredible games, and he's done a lot for the industry. So, and it's kind of surreal because he's been with PlayStation forever. So now it's like, holy shit, with Xbox. So, it was definitely one of the biggest highlights of the showcase when Hideo Kojima just appeared and spoke. So, like RMD said, you know, the guy's a mad scientist, but obviously without the mad. But I'm really interested to see what the mad scientist is cooking up for us, because again, you really can't go wrong with Hideo Kojima. You know, whatever game he's making, it's likely also going to be a day one on Game Pass game. So there's going to be even more people playing it than there otherwise would be. And for people that are not as familiar with Hideo Kojima or the types of games he makes, they would get their first taste. And again, another reason why that would be huge. I mean, can you imagine if Hideo Kojima's game actually came out in 2024? I personally don't think so. But let's just say it did come out in 2024. I mean, between the acquisition of Xbox, I'm sorry, not an Xbox, between the acquisition of Activision Blizzard and their games, obviously it's, you know, with their games on Game Pass as well as the new games, you know, like obviously Treyarch's game I think is going to be coming out in 2024 of their Call of Duty, so I'm hoping that one's good, but we'll see. And it's going to be under Microsoft, and it's probably going to be day one on Game Pass, and if not, it would happen sooner or later. I mean, seriously, Game Pass is about to become insanely popular, so you got that, and then if Hideo Kojima's game were to come out in that year, like, holy shit. Plus a bunch of other projects that we still haven't heard from in a while. I mean, I know there's Fable. Fable's going to be a big one. I think that one's going to come out, and then Banjo-Kazooie was nowhere to be found, even though people were kind of mentioning it, or there's a leaker that talked to Jess Corbin, who knows a lot about this shit, and basically Banjo is coming, according to that, if I'm not mistaken. So I've been listening to Randall Thor's podcasts a lot of times, and there's, you know, which was a part of an inspiration for this type of video or whatnot and stuff like that, and putting my own spin on it. So yeah, when you look at it from every single angle, there's just so much to look forward to. So much to look forward to. And conversations are definitely going to be had, and there's definitely going to be some shit stirring. And the thing is, ultimately, in the next few months, there's still going to be more things to be unveiled. Because remember, Nintendo has their stuff, and Sony has more of their stuff as well. And hopefully God of War Ragnarok gets released this year. And if they don't, Elden Ring is definitely probably going to win Game of the Year. You know, like I mentioned, God of War Ragnarok is probably the only game standing in its way. And even that is obviously not a guarantee that it would win. But But I always have faith in Sony Santa Monica. I think if God of War Ragnarok is to come out this year, I have no doubt that it would at least get nominated, because they're excellent storytellers. The quality of the games that they have made over the years has been absolutely excellent, and I expect nothing less from them. And they're also very humble creators, and everything they've always put out has been definitely always worth a purchase. And I'm really eager to see how this story ends, because they've already mentioned, Cory Barlog has already mentioned that basically this is the end, because they spent a total of 10 years in the Norse mythology. So this second game is going to be the end of this story. So as I mentioned before, I think Kratos is going to die, but that doesn't mean that he's going to die forever. You know, maybe a few years down the line, we'll see him in a different era of mythology or whatnot. So at least that's what I think, but who knows? We don't know yet. There was obviously some hints, foreshadowing at the end of the first game in terms of what would happen, but we will see. We will see. So I'm very curious about that, and I'm very curious to see what happens with Atreus, aka Loki, and of course the other characters. I want to see Odin. We haven't seen him yet, so between Odin and then obviously you've got Thor, so as well as a few other things. So I'm really curious to see exactly what happens, and to play the game that much more, because I enjoyed the first game immensely, and I can't wait to dive into the second one. I still have a PS4. So eventually, hopefully, that game will also come out on PC. It'll probably be like at earliest a year later after its release. But yeah, don't have a PS5 unfortunately, but I do have a PS4, so at least there's that. The only thing I would ask is that the game would run at 60, but on a PS4 Slim, I don't think it would be capable of running at 60, because in the last game, the only way you'd be able to play 60 on that is either if you have the PC port, which got released more recently, or if you had a PS4 Pro. So if I'm able to get a good deal on switching this to switching the PS4 to PS4 Pro just so I can play God of War Ragnarok on 60, I might bite on it. I'm not sure. I might. But that's just, there's no sense in it. I might as well just get a PS5 if I can, but those are, again, very hard to get. But I'm not holding my breath for one. It's not really a necessity. I've got my Series X, and I've got the new PC coming in, and I've got the old arcade machine over here. It's just got so much. But those PlayStation exclusives is something that you can't really turn your back on PlayStation exclusives. You got Wolverine coming, you've got, you know, Spider-Man. I mean, come on. There's just the exclusives that Sony makes are just, you can't really ignore them. And on top of that, if they were to bring back a bunch of games remastered, I mean, a lot of people are saying that they would love to see Jak and Daxter. I personally would love that. If they did a Jak and Daxter trilogy remastered, holy shit, man. So remasters, especially for me at my age and stuff like that, it just, I love re-experiencing games with all the bells and whistles and stuff like that, and telling and experiencing that, as well as with the capabilities of streaming and everything nowadays. It's like you could tell people, like, this is what I experienced growing up, and it's like, or how did you know that was there? Well, it's like, I played this many years ago. So the thing is, and honestly, when you remaster games, I think it's really a good way of basically bringing together the newer generation of gamers with the older generation of gamers, because I think I speak for all of us that are in my generation of gaming, to where there will be memories that can never really be replaced and experiences that can never be duplicated, even with remasters. But it kind of almost makes it seem that way when you bring back a beloved game and you remaster it and you release it out to the masses, whether it's by something like Game Pass or whether you just release it and you get the option to buy it or whatnot. So things like that for someone like me, and remasters are always going to be appealing. And for those of you guys that are younger generation of gamers now, guess what? One day they're going to remaster a game that you're enjoying now or that you've enjoyed recently, right? So that is going to hit you in the feels as well. It's not going to be quite the same. However, it will hit you in the feels, and you will temporarily feel like you're almost back in that era. But it's never going to be the same. So enjoy the memories that you are developing now, and be in the moment as best you can, because those are the moments that you're never going to get back. So especially for you, younger guys, because when you're young like that and you're experiencing games, at your youth, there's just there's just something special about that, and it's just something that is going to be in your memory forever, and it's just, you're just going to remember all the good times and stuff like that. Gaming has done a lot of wonderful things for a lot of people. Some people it's kept out of trouble. Some people it's been helping them with coordination skills as well, especially when it comes to games like first-person shooters and stuff like that. Other people out there were so inspired by games that they became game developers and now they make games. Some people obviously went the extra mile of just playing the games to like streaming them or doing content creation and stuff like that. So the effect on gaming over the generations has been really immense, and it's a multi-billion dollar ordeal now. And there are more people that are playing games more than ever because you've got all these different things coming out, not just consoles and PCs, but you're talking about mobile gaming, you're talking about this cloud device that Xbox is putting out right now that is going to have Game Pass with it or whatnot. That's just like worth $100 and everybody can play it, powered through the cloud and shit like that. Gaming is absolutely huge, and it's only going to continue to get bigger. So the community is definitely going to grow, and it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what happens next. You know, what's going to happen next with VR. You know, what other exclusives is PlayStation going to bring out and everything like that. So good time. It's a good time to be a gamer, and I can't wait to hear more in terms of what Sony is doing and also what Nintendo's doing. A lot of people are wanting Metroid Prime 4. You know, obviously Breath of the Wild 2 is something that's coming. I personally would love to see a Donkey Kong. I mean, during the Switch generation, that'd be nice. Bring it on, Donkey Kong. So Donkey Kong to this day, Donkey Kong Country 1 and Donkey Kong Country 2. I never played the third one, but the first two Donkey Kong Countries will forever be some of the best Super Nintendo games that I've ever played in my life. I'll never forget the day where my neighbor came over with Donkey Kong, and it was so good that I begged. I was like, I don't know, I was like 10 years old or some shit like that. I begged to get that game, and my puppy dog face worked, and that night we went to the store and we got it, and I stood up to God knows how long and played the living shit out of that game. And for God knows how long after that. Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2 were some of the best Super Nintendo games ever made. So for them to make a Donkey Kong Country that for the Switch or whatnot, that basically has the longevity that like a Mario Odyssey has. You know, I mean, look at what they did with Metroid Dread. That Metroid Dread is basically like Super Metroid in this current generation, and that is basically something that you just, especially if you're my age, you just can't ignore. And I remember watching Excalibur stream it. I remember watching Maximilian Dude play it and stream it. It just gives you those old school vibes. It really combines the generations so well, which is also something that this game here in the background, Shredder's Revenge, does very well as well. So obviously the graphics are more old school and pixelated, obviously, but you still can't ignore all the good things that they did with this, and they put their budget in the right places. So yeah, I'm very eager to find out what happens and the direction that these guys are going to go in, and hopefully for the most part all for the better. As far as single player games are concerned, the future looks good. Multiplayer games, it's a big question mark, because you've got people that are very successful content creators and streamers that are now starting to develop their games. Now, is that because they want to become billionaires and that's the sole focus? Or is it because they actually want to make a game that everybody will actually play and they'll do it right and simultaneously make their money? So let's hope they put their money where their mouth is, and hope they get it right. So far we've heard some positive and negative things. Something about, I think, NFTs about Dr. Disrespect's game, and it's turning a lot of people off and turning them away already before they've even seen anything. So I don't know, we'll see. Let me know what you guys think of that. But we've been going for about an hour. I think I'm going to end it here. So I hope you guys let me know. Do you enjoy? Have you downloaded Shredder's Revenge? And if so, have you played it? Are you enjoying it? Let me know. How are you feeling about that? How do you get? I hope you guys like the theme, the green. I love that color. So and of course, let me know down in the comment section everything and anything else. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.